For the Mythology Cultural Comparison Project. So here I am, I've started a Google Doc. I have an MLA header already in place. I have the title for what I'm working on, my Mythology Cultural Comparison Research Log. Before you move on, I want you to insert a header that's going to indicate to me and to your group which document you're looking at. So we go to the Insert menu, Header. Now Google by default is going to put you on the top row of the page, but if you ever print that out, that top row is going to get cut off. So I want to hit return once, so I'm on the second line. I'm going to justify it to the right hand side of the screen, and then I'll label the document according to my table and period number, and then hit space, go to insert, insert page number, top of page, and my header is all set to go. Now, you're each going to be conducting individual research. The reason that you're keeping a research log as a group is so that all of that research is available in one place when you go to work on your presentation and when you work on the essay that you're going to write as a group. So, each member of the group, I want to have their own individual table. So to start a table, you go into the Table menu, Insert Table. You only need one column, and we'll start with 4 rows. You might add a row later on, but 4 is a good nice starting point. So in the first row, put your name. Right? So this way, everyone can identify whose research is what, right? In the second row, I want you to start a list of your keywords. We'll be talking about in class how important keywords are to the research process and the means you should go about as far as generating keywords and adding keywords as you continue the research process. This is an important part that I want to see from everyone. How your mind's working around generating keywords and how that keyword list is expanding as you conduct your research. The subsequent rows will be each source. So call it source 1. If I can type correctly, we'll have a source number 2. Now that's the bare minimum number of sources that each individual can have. If you happen to get 2 robustly informative sources, then this may be enough for you to stop. But for most of you, you're probably going to have to go on to 3 or even 4 sources to make sure that you have a solid understanding of whatever culture you're investigating and how they relate or tell stories that relate to the themes of your Greek or Roman myths. So in each of your source boxes, you're going to start with a works cited entry. So if you're dealing with a nonfiction book, you'll start, of course, with the author and title, and then continue to have a proper works cited entry. And then you're going to bullet each of your notes. So you can go up here to create a bulleted list. And what you want to do is introduce each note with a page number. So let's say I have a note that comes from page 45 through 46. And now I'm going to write whatever my note is. Now for most of you, you're going to have handwritten your notes in the library, and you're going to be transcribing them onto the document at some later point. So here's where you'll transcribe your note. And then after the note, you're going to indicate whether it is a Q, quote, and of course if it was a quote you should have quotation marks around it, right? Or it could be a paraphrase, or it could be a summary. So if you're unfamiliar with those terms, you need to review the documents that we've looked at earlier in the year, and there's a link for that on the class website. And then you'll move on, etc., etc. Here's a quote I liked. Now remember, you really only want to use quotes if you think the language is done so effectively that you couldn't put it in better words yourself, or you think that language is something that might be really helpful thinking ahead to when you're going to write a paper because it captures the essence of an idea exquisitely. Now you could do a lot of quotes and then later on do the paraphrasing. That's okay too, but often we want to make sure that as we're doing research that we're understanding pausing to understand what we're reading and the notes that we're taking. Paraphrasing is a good way to do that because it takes the extra mental step of digesting the information and putting it into your own words. In any event, for your second source, you'll do the same thing. Let's say for this one, you were in a reference book or encyclopedia of some sort. Obviously, you'd start with the author, and then the article title, and then the reference book title, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So once you have that, if you needed to add another source, you can right-click, and you'll have this menu where you can insert a row below. Or, if you want to, you can go to the table menu, and the same option is available to you. Insert row below, and look, here's a new row for me to put my third source. And again, each individual person in your group will create their own table. So you'll end up with 4 or 5 tables within your one document. All of your research will be gathered, and it'll be a great resource for you when you're building your presentation and when you're writing your group essay.